A quantum entangled experiment performed on this satellite showed that shared quantum states can extend over 1,200 kilometers, smashing the previous world record. Quantum entanglement is physics at its strangest. Subatomic particles like photons can be entangled by sharing their quantum states, such as their spin and polarization. Even if the photons are separated by vast distances, these shared states should remain in limbo until one of the objects is measured or disturbed. Then the quantum states for both photons suddenly collapse to a set value, with no information passing between the two. With fiber optics, scientists have been able to demonstrate quantum entanglement on Earth across a few hundred kilometers. Any farther out, and the photon's quantum states are upset by fluctuations in the atmosphere. But photons travel much more smoothly in the near vacuum of space. That's where the MICEUS, the first space-based quantum research platform, comes in. Inside MICEUS, an ultraviolet laser is split and sent into a special crystal that produces entangled photons with opposite polarization states. The pairs are then beamed down to Earth, 5.9 million entangled pairs per second. Two ground stations in China, over 1,200 kilometers apart, receive the photons. When the scientists measured the states of the incoming photons, they were correlated far more often than would be expected by random chance. Evidence that the photons had remained entangled across large distances. Although the transmission of the entangled photons was much more efficient than ground-based experiments, still just 1 in 6 million photons made it to the base stations. Next, the researchers plan to distribute quantum keys to the stations, which requires long strings of entangled photons. With entangled encryption keys, two people in separate locations could communicate secretly with each other, and any attempt at eavesdropping would be noticed. Researchers plan to extend the reach of the fledgling quantum network by adding more satellites and ground stations. That would be a stepping stone to a space-based, worldwide quantum internet.
Cyber is the most inexpensive, highly destructive, highly deniable weapon.
We don't see the war, but war is taking place.
For decades, there was a lot of cyber theft, but everything would change in 2007.
A piece of malware would be delivered into the Iranian nuclear program.
The United States used a powerful cyber weapon in a very aggressive way.
And others began to say, if the Americans can do it, so can we.
Foreign cyber actors are targeting America's critical infrastructure networks.
They said, oh, that's the way the game is played.
Breaking into emails and making them public.
I was like, I don't think this movie's coming out, guys.
Some dictator cannot impose censorship in the United States.
And then it ratcheted up a notch.
Sowing chaos with disinformation.
I don't think anybody knows it was Russia.
People have no idea what's true, what's fact, what they can trust.
We're still debating and questioning our democratic institutions.
They're involved going after me on Facebook because Putin knows me and I know him and he doesn't want me to be president.
The volume of attack is escalating.
Bad information is now spreading faster than the coronavirus itself.
The sophistication is escalating.
It attacked 155 countries in one day.
Cyber will be the weapon of choice. Nations see this as an element of national power. This becomes a perfect weapon, one we're not prepared to defend against.
A 6.5 magnitude earthquake is shaking the foundations of the Bangai Islands. 93 million miles away, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, the Moon, and the Sun all conjoin in a rare astronomical event. Back at the equator, it's early morning. A student presents an idea for his senior thesis. He says the internet has become too costly for the average person. His solution? He can create a program that would retrieve the account logins of other individuals, hijack their internet. Obviously, he wouldn't release the bug, he just wants to show he can do it before graduation. The dean's response? the student writes the last line of code. He originally developed it to be geolocked to Manila, a safety net. But last minute, out of sheer curiosity, he removes the geographic restriction. Shrouded in the universal message of peace, the file looks to be from a secret admirer. Once opened, the full file extension reveals itself. This is a Visual Basic script. It uses an exploit in early computer systems that allowed it to run system code simply by being opened. The top two files are sent to the Windows system folder, where they wait. The bottom one is sent to the Windows directory, where it creates its own key in the local machine registry. This causes other programs to run as soon as the system boots, before the user even has a chance to log in. From there, it opens Internet Explorer and randomly picks from a series of 4 web pages. Once landed, it downloads winbugsfix.exe. Then, it adds another registry key at the starting line. It gathers the system login, password, IP address, and remote access information, packages it up neatly, and sends it to mailme@super.net.ph. After the details are sent, the worm searches for files containing extensions like .js or .css. It overrides them with the file extension. It does the same for JPEGs and MP3s, rendering them completely unretrievable. Once the damage is done, the worm enters Outlook, scans for emails, then sends itself using the originator's email address. Destruction is now spreading through a message of peace and love.
You are watching Disrupt TV.
From Philippines to Hong Kong, the virus has infected several large corporations and banks, not only deleting important files within the companies, but grabbing the email listings of all individuals in contact. From there, it jumps to Europe, where it wreaks particular damage to the email servers within the House of Commons. They're forced to shut down, same with the Denmark Parliament. With classified documents in danger of being wiped out, the US Air Force has deployed a system called ASIM. It works by utilizing 144 sensors that the Air Force had previously placed across bases throughout the country. It then creates a sort of window for centralized command to view incoming emails. When an email matches the description, command sends a TCP reset to that desktop, telling it to stop receiving emails for
variable milliseconds.
Enough time to terminate the warning. The private sector is not so lucky. Most companies are using Outlook, including AT&T and Ford. They are forced to take their email servers offline. The virus has now affected nearly 55 million computers. Along with the emails, a second spreader has been identified. Within the original files, one is named mirc.ini. This scans the computer for an IRC client. If found, it automatically sends the exploit to all contacts that the victim may share on a server. Instead of a love letter, though, it sends this message. Thinking it's a legit file, tech-savvy users of IRC would recognize the name, the author of MIRC. It's only after running the script would they know he had nothing to do with it. Security analysts are scanning the virus, looking for clues as to the origin. They find that a component within closely resembles a password cracker named that was discovered 4 months earlier. They find within it signed names and resumes, an entry that says, in the resume portion is an extended list of first and last names, along with a group title. This traces back to an after-school club at a computer college in the Philippines. An apartment is raided. Inside is a man, a woman, and an empty desk with a dusty outline of a Gateway Performance 1500. The man, now identified as Romo Ramones, is the boyfriend of Irene de Guzman, who is the older sister of a student from the college. The student's name just so happens to be on the list.
There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. You could run, but you can't hide forever from these streets that we done took. You walking with your head down, scared to look. You shook, cause ain't no such things as halfway crooks. They never around when the beef cooks in my part of town. It's similar to Vietnam.